Well, it finally happened. Prime Minister Scott Morrison made his announcement about Jerusalem and the embassy move, and whilst it was not ideal, I can live with it for now. Mr. Morrison formally recognised West Jerusalem as Israel's capital, and in doing so made a powerful statement about Israel, although the Israelis weren't as impressed. In effect, what he said to the Palestinian Arabs and all the other Israel haters is that a country like Australia is recognising the legitimacy of Israel amongst the community of nations, and that this country rejects any delegitimisation of Israel in an attempt to replace it with another Arab state, or at least some sort of binational state. However, the PM did take the easy way out regarding the embassy move, saying that this is on hold until a peace agreement with the Palestinian Arabs is reached, but instead he will set up a trade and defence office in Jerusalem. I can also live with this because the symbolism of Australia's representatives actually working in Jerusalem is much more significant than where the actual building is located. Morrison's speech also had some aspects I would rather he not have included, such as the part about recognising East Jerusalem as the capital of a future Palestinian state when peace is finally negotiated. This, unfortunately, gives tacit acceptance of a divided Jerusalem at some point in the future, but also builds on the flawed premise that the two-state solution is a workable formula for achieving peace, when 70 years of history has shown that it isn't. But anyway, it will keep a lot of the electorate happy, which is important, as he has one eye on the election next year. If the two-state solution ever does get up, then it must be made very, very clear that Israel will be giving up land, not giving back land. However, the most interesting part of Australia's Jerusalem announcement is the reaction from the broader Arab and Muslim world, in who said what and who didn't say anything. The Gulf states, the heartland of Arabia if you like, have kept completely quiet. Not a word of criticism, no outrage, no belligerent statements, and no threats of retaliation of any sort. It's business as usual, and in fact, Bahrain has defended Morrison's announcement, and just a week ago, Oman agreed to allow El Al to fly over its territory. And these are Israel's supposed enemies in its immediate neighbourhood. Only the Cairo-based Arab League issued a fairly soft condemnation, but nothing from Egypt, the recognised leader of the Arab world. The broader Muslim world, on the other hand, has risen up in anger, making all kinds of threats. So we have a situation where Israel's neighbours are all fairly happy with Australia's announcement, but Muslims everywhere else in the world are highly incensed at Australia's recognition of Jerusalem and potential embassy move. What does all this tell us about the state of the world? Well, a lot actually. It says that Israel's traditional enemies are quietly getting on with life, and with Israel, having realised long ago that Israel is there to stay, but also that the broader Muslim world has not yet addressed its inherent anti-Semitism and will take any opportunity to poke it out under the guise of criticism of Israel. Morrison also took a well-deserved swipe at the United Nations, whose long-standing position is that East Jerusalem remains an occupied settlement since Israel's 1967 annexation. Really? If Israel is occupying Jerusalem, then who is it occupying it from? Well, Jordan, actually. It was not the Palestinians, because before the Six-Day War of 1967, there was no Palestinian national movement. They were all generic Arabs. And before Jordan controlled it, it belonged to the British, following their defeat of the Ottoman Empire in World War I. And the Ottomans had occupied the land for the previous 500 years. And so it goes on, with not a Palestinian Arab in sight. But I did have to chuckle at the Twitter statement put out by Palestinian honcho Saeb Erekat, who called on all Arab and Muslim countries to sever ties with Australia. In response, Imam Tawhidi, one of the few Australian Muslims to agitate for the reform of Islam, replied saying he hopes the Palestinians do cut ties with Australia. That way, he says, We can stop sending them foreign aid, which gets diverted into their own bank accounts whilst they maintain ties with terrorists. Scott Morrison is proving to be quite a masterful leader. He got it right when he said, quote, "Foreign policy must speak of our character and our values, what we stand for, what we believe in, and what we will defend." Take note, Indonesia and Malaysia, you may not even recognise Israel's right to exist, but Australia now has a Prime Minister with vision and who won't be bullied by the likes of you. This is Alan Friedman from Nothing Left for the Australian Jewish Association.